Hey everyone. Today I want to look at an issue to do with the Row 8 and the upcoming election. I've been thinking about this for a while and I thought I'd put this down in words and put some visual reference points together to pursue the logic of my thinking and see if anybody else agrees or if it is fundamentally flawed. The premise of my argument is that we are 48 working days away from an election. We've got an election coming up that's not going to be decided purely on Row 8 or not, and I've put a few pointers and few issues that are going to cause people to vote one way or another here. So we've got childcare, trade, tax, housing, transit, environment, jobs, healthcare, social services, immigration, domestic violence, and many other factors I'm sure that will come into it, which I haven't even thought of. The bottom line is that the election is very much up in the air at the moment. Nobody can say with certainty which party is going to win. We can probably agree at this stage that we're looking at a 50-50 outcome, either swinging towards Labour or Liberals. One thing we do know is that with regards to the Row 8, which is certainly a contentious issue in the election as well, Liberals have said they are definitely going to continue building the road. Labour have said they are definitely going to stop the road. There are costs involved with both of those. Those are given, those are out of our control, and they hinge entirely on who wins the election. What I wanted to look at in this video was the implication of waiting or continuing with the bulldozing in the lead up to the election. So I thought I'd do a very simple risk assessment. I've drawn a grid here with 2 columns and 2 rows. The columns represent the 2 scenarios that we wait or we continue with the bulldozing. The rows represent the possible outcomes of the elections. So in the top row, we say Liberals are winning. In the bottom row, we say Labour will win the election. Each of those 4 squares in the table represents a possible scenario in this whole setup. So we'll look at each one of them in turn, starting with the wait column. So if we wait and Liberal wins, Row 8 will be built with some delays, but it will be built and we'll get the benefits of what Row 8 promises to be. There'll be some costs associated with the delay, but that's a risk mitigation cost. If Labour wins and we wait with the bulldozing, there won't be a Row 8 because that's what Labour have promised, but there will also be a minimal destruction of the existing ecosystem. Going to the next column, if we continue with the bulldozing and the Liberals win, Row 8 will be built without delays. If you continue with the bulldozing and Labour wins, there won't be a Row 8, again, because that's what they promised will happen, but there will also be a massive loss of an existing ecosystem for no apparent purpose. It's a no-win situation for anyone. I'm sure Liberal voters don't want that. I'm sure Labour voters don't want that. So we can look at this grid in terms of rows and in terms of columns. If we look at it in terms of rows, we see that we can't decide which row will happen because we or the government are not directly in control about who will win the election. That will be decided by the voters, and it's not just an issue of the Row 8, it's a bigger picture which encompasses all of these different things and many more. What we can do, or what the government can do, is decide which column we fall into. So we can choose to be in the wait column or we can choose to be in the continue column. Now if we look at these different scenarios, my argument is that being in the wait column is more desirable than being in the continue column. The wait column represents a much lower risk altogether than the continue column. And therefore, to me, it seems logical to wait until the election before any further work is done.